So Alex, you and I have just been sitting in our office watching Rishi Sunak deliver his budget. It's one of the most important of these that we've watched in our not short careers. He's set out a 3-part plan. He's promised to do whatever it takes to support the economy through the coronavirus emergency. He's also, in the second part of this plan, said that he'll be honest about what's needed to start to repair the public finances. And then thirdly, he's tried to set out plans for the future economy. And this is obviously going to be very important. What did you make of it all?
Well, the thing which has startled me is the scale of the numbers which we're dealing with here. So the Chancellor spending another £44.3 billion. That's more than the projected deficit was going to be before we got to the coronavirus crisis. And indeed, now he's spending £344 billion on dealing with the crisis. And that's through tax breaks and the help for furlough and all those other schemes which he unveiled today. And that's going to go on really for the next 2 years, really the help period. And then we're going to get really hit very hard. Companies are going to be hit and ordinary people are going to be hit. So 1 million more people will be drawn into the tax base because of the frozen allowances as we go into the future. And then another 1.3 million people who are in jobs are going to be drawn into higher rate tax bands. So it's going to be a very big hit. So we've got 2 years of relatively easy going, although it won't be very easy going for those who are going to lose their jobs. And then we're going to get punched in the nose.
I agree with you there, actually. And one of the things that I found, overall, I thought it was a really good speech and very positive and hit the right notes. But one bit that did bring me up short, actually, was when he said that the freezing of the allowance, the tax allowances, wouldn't leave anybody any worse off. And actually, it will, once you start to take account of inflation, which we are expecting to come back. So I thought that was a bit cheeky. I thought that slightly smacked of that notorious pound in your pocket. It was a bit deceptive. And particularly when he'd said he wanted to be completely honest about the pain that would have to be inflicted. I'm not a big fan of freezing these allowances. I noticed he did also freeze the lifetime allowance for pensions, which I think discourages pension savings. And then there was also the very well flagged corporation tax increase, which is going to kick in after 2 years, isn't it? And then it'll go up to 25%. Now, Rishi's still saying, well, that's cheap compared with other developed economies. And he also did bring in some provision to protect smaller firms and those not making very big profits, to which you think, well, if you're exempting everybody, almost why bother?
And the tax hit by 2025-26, that's 4 years' time, is going to be £38 billion a year. The Chancellor will be taking back £38 billion from you and I and every business in the country. That's an enormous tax rise. I don't ever remember seeing a tax rise on that scale in my lifetime. And I've been covering budgets for a very long period of time.
Well, let's not go into exactly how long. But I do think it was a great budget, though. Speaking as a northerner, I think it was a great budget for the north. I love the fact that we've got the Treasury coming to Darlington, coming to Teesside, which is something I've personally campaigned about and you've teased me about. No pun intended on tease. And I also think we've got this great National Infrastructure Bank coming to Leeds and free ports, not just on Teesside, but in other locations around the country. And I'm very much hoping that really will kickstart that levelling up agenda that we've heard so much about.
I was very upset, Ruth, because everything went to the north and there was very little for the south. And as you know, I come from Brighton on the south coast. And so I'm very upset that East Sussex has not benefited at all here. But I did notice that the Solent, so the Southampton area, will be getting that free port idea, and Felixstowe on the east coast, that's very important. That's our biggest container port. I mean, these are really good ideas for invigorating Britain after we've left the European Union. And I think that's also what the Chancellor is also trying to do for the financial sector. So we've had this new review of the city, which is trying to open up the city more to technology, financial technology, new listings in London. bringing some excitement back to the City of London, which has been under a cloud for the last 4 years because of Brexit.
I think balanced against the excitement, we do need to have a bit of common sense about not just opening the floodgates in London and letting in any Tom, Dick and Harry and lowering the reputation of the city, which in the short term might pay off, but in the long term, I think would be counterproductive. So we do have to be a bit careful around that.
But it is important, Ruth, as you understand, to release the animal spirits, and not just in the city, but in Teesside, where you're talking about. And of course, there are some great projects which the Chancellor's talked about. So around wind farms and hydrogen technology and so on, they're already underway. And hopefully the Infrastructure Bank, which is going to be based in Leeds, as you said, it's got quite a big capitalisation. So it does have the opportunity to partner up with the private sector. And if you go back to if we think about the coronavirus and how we've tackled that, I've always said that it's a wonderful example of the private sector combining with the public sector and the universities to create some growth with the vaccine regime. And if we could do that for the green agenda, that would be absolutely brilliant.
You are absolutely right. For once we're in agreement, and I'd actually go further than you. I would say it's an opportunity to bring together the fact that the city, we have the ambition to make the city the most advanced centre of green finance in the world, and this green industrial revolution idea. I thought it was brilliant that the Chancellor has announced green investment bonds for retail savers. It's a variant or a subset of an idea that I put forward about war bonds, which Sir Keir Starmer was kind enough to take up. I think, getting everybody involved in investing in the green economy, using our pension fund money to invest in the green projects that will power our future prosperity, it's all great. And we've got every ingredient in this country to bring that all together and make that work.
What I thought was really missing, however, from all of this, I mean, given that we're in the middle of a health crisis, in the past, the Chancellor has spent a lot of time talking about the NHS, about social care and so on. There was absolutely no reference to any of that. And of course, social care is one of the biggest problems facing this country.
That was a big, yeah.
It's a big miss. And I think that the opposition parties, in fact, I think Keir Starmer will be able to make hay out of that, because these are the people who've carried the burden of the crisis, and you might have hoped that he'd found some way of doing a nod towards the people who've helped solve the crisis in terms of keeping us well, and the people who've suffered most, which are the people in the care homes and their families.
You're absolutely right. It would have been nice to see something good for the NHS and the fantastic workers there. Actually, the lifetime allowance on pensions will hit a lot of doctors, which is pretty bad, and I think a lot of people haven't noticed that. I think a big omission, as you say, was if you think about what things are going to potentially be a brake on growth as we look forward, there are two big things that I think possibly are. One you'll disagree with, which is Brexit and, getting ourselves up to speed post-Brexit. The other is an ageing population. And, we do need to think about how are we going to construct policies that stop an ageing population acting as a curb on the growth that we really, really desperately do need.
Well, the Chancellor did bring forward, Ruth, just to challenge that a little bit, it did bring forward some policies which hopefully will help build the economy post-Brexit. I thought that the visas for highly skilled people, I mean, people want to come to our universities, they want to work in our universities, and hopefully that visa exemption and this ability to bring in highly skilled people into the UK without any trouble will be able to boost that science space of the economy.
I think that's excellent. So marks out of 10, Alex?
I'd say 7.
7, yeah. Maybe I might give him 7.5.